After over 10 years of using iPhones, I decided this year to switch over to the Google Pixel 9. My name's McKenna if you're new to my channel, and today I'm going to be talking about my experience switching from an iPhone to the Google Pixel 9, which I'm actually filming on right now. Sorry if you see me keep looking over here. I wrote notes on my iPad and I want to remember everything that I'm saying, so that's why I keep looking over here. I got my first cell phone when I was in grade 8. I don't even remember the model of the phone. It was not an iPhone. I remember it was a Samsung, but this was at a time when cell phones were starting to become more popular, and everybody had different cell phones at the time. iPhone really wasn't dominating the market yet. The first iPhone that I got was the iPhone 5C in the color green. This was very exciting for me at the time. I had it for about half of my high school years, and then from that phone I switched to the iPhone 6 and then to the 8 Plus. For a short time, I did try out the Samsung Galaxy S9. However, this was only for a couple months, and then I decided to switch back to iPhone because of the video quality at the time. From then on, I switched to the iPhone 11, and then to the 13 Pro, and then to the 15 Pro. From the 15 Pro, I switched over to the Google Pixel 9. There were a couple things that made me very reluctant to switch over. The first thing was the video camera. iPhone video cameras are really well done, and they're very consistent. They have been over the past years. I like to take a lot of videos, and this heavily influenced me to stay with iPhone for such a long amount of time. Overall, the video taking experience on iPhones is very consistent and smooth, and it's really nice, honestly. I'm not super technical when it comes to all the specs and stuff like that, but I just knew that at the time I really preferred iPhones over Samsung. Another thing that I really didn't want to give up was AirDrop. I use AirDrop mainly with my friends when we're transferring photos to each other. And then I also would use it when I was editing videos. So it was part of my workflow and I didn't want to mess with that. And that kind of brings me to the next reason why I was so reluctant, was because I felt like I was stuck in the Apple ecosystem. A lot of my technology that I have is Apple products. So I have an iPad, I have a MacBook, I have AirPods, I have an Apple Watch, and all of my devices are on the iCloud. Switching to an Android phone made it feel like I was gonna lose this smooth system that I had to connect all of my devices. So most of my family and friends also have iPhones. I had a couple group chats that I had in iMessage that I didn't want to lose. I think with that there might have been a little bit of a social aspect to it as well, just having to explain to my friends why I couldn't be in the group chat anymore. It's silly, but I think that there are a lot of questions that people have when you switch to an Android from an iPhone. I find this is true especially when you're switching away from the iPhone. There's probably a whole lot more that could be said to this specific topic, so I'm just gonna move on because that's not the focus of this video. The last thing that kept me reluctant to switch over was just the familiarity of the system, of using iOS and just Apple products in general. I've used them for so long, and I knew that it would take me a little bit of time to get used to using an Android phone. Now you're probably thinking, how did I get to the decision to switch over to a Pixel? Long story short, my husband got the Pixel 8a this year. He switched over from an iPhone. This was my first time actually seeing the Pixels in person. I had been interested before in the past, back when the Pixel 3 was the new phone. I don't know what year that was, but at that time I remember I was seriously considering switching over even then, but ultimately decided not to, obviously. But seeing my husband's Pixel in person for the first time was truly eye-opening for me, because truthfully I was only ever really looking at iPhones and their updates, which honestly have been very minimal in the past couple years. I kind of started to see how Apple hasn't really innovated that much in the past couple years. The new phones that they were releasing, they had some insane price tags. I was just honestly a little bit tired and a little bit bored of what they were releasing. So when I got to see my husband's phone, I really liked how customizable it was, and it really showed me some of the different features that the Pixel had to offer. So after seeing my husband's phone, I decided to take the plunge and get the Pixel 9, and honestly it was a little bit impulsive. I very quickly sold my phone that I was using, which was the iPhone 15 Pro, and I got the Google Pixel 9 in the color porcelain with 256 gigabytes of storage. I decided not to go with the Pro model for this phone, mainly because of the price, but also because the Pixel 9 it just seemed like it was fine for what I was going to be using it for. The switch over from the iPhone to this new one was not bad at all. It was a little bit more difficult because I had sold my previous phone before I got this. So if I had my previous phone, it would have been a lot easier because you just literally plug them into each other and then the data transfers that way. But like I said, I sold my phone, so I couldn't do that. I had to use my iPad and then kind of go in and manually remember which apps I had on my phone and download them that way. But that honestly wasn't even that big of a deal to me because it just felt like I was starting fresh on this phone, which I liked. When it comes to the user experience, like the home screen, the lock screen, drop down menus, and all that stuff, my first impression was that it's so customizable and it's actually really simple. I had this preconceived idea that switching to Android was going to be very complicated and very difficult to understand. Like, I don't know why I had that view of it, but that's what I thought. And I honestly even found it comparable to an iPhone, like how you navigate this phone. So it honestly wasn't that hard of a change. I love how customizable everything is, like I just said. iPhone's recent updates in the past couple of years have started to include more customization options for their users, but I have found that honestly it's not as good as the Pixel and just Android in general. Another thing that I thought was pretty cool was that you can change the settings on the Pixel to have it at 120 Hz refresh rate, which on the current newest iPhone 16s, you can't even do that on the base models. They don't even offer that, which is insane. And then my husband even further informed me that this is just usually standard for Android phones, which is kind of crazy nowadays, especially with the prices that Apple is charging for their iPhones. That's honestly why I decided to go with the Pro models with the iPhone, was because they only offered 120 Hz refresh rate. And this might be something that the average user might not notice, but I still think it's crazy. Another thing that I love is the fingerprint sensor on the lock screen. I found it so convenient, especially when you're in the dark or something and the Face ID can't pick up your face. You can just really quickly open up your phone with your fingerprint. I honestly use the fingerprint sensor like all the time. It's fast and I found it super reliable. And just overall, I've found the phones fast, smooth, responsive, and I haven't really had any issues with it at all. When it comes to the social media experience, I found that some of the apps look a bit different, obviously, but they perform pretty much the same. The only big difference I found was the camera inside of social media apps. So like if you're using the camera on Instagram or something like that, it's a little bit less responsive, and it's probably due to like the processing chip or something. I have no idea, but I have found that it is a bit slower, and also the quality is just not the same as iPhone. But honestly, when I post stuff on my stories, I usually just take from my photo library anyways, so that's not really a big issue for me, but I thought it was something that I would mention in this video. Now let's talk about the camera. The Pixel photo quality is honestly stunning. I love it so much. It just comes down to personal preferences. Both the cameras that I've used on my previous phone and this one are both really good, but when it comes to which one I like more, I do like the Pixel more. I have found that the Pixel has a bit more sharp images with a difference in how the colors turn out. But again, this just comes down to personal preferences. This camera is also very fast in opening and taking images. When it comes to taking videos, there is one thing that I thought I would mention, is that I've noticed that there is a bit of a rattle when I take footage on this camera, and when I looked into it, this has to do with the optical image stabilization in the Pixel. You can actually hear it when you shake the phone. Apparently this is a normal part of the stabilization method process, I don't know, but it does force me to be more aware of it and have more of a stable hand when I'm like vlogging and stuff. So it's not that big of a deal to me, but it is a noticeable difference coming from an iPhone previously. Otherwise, the quality on this camera is probably just as good as the iPhone. I find that the front camera quality might even be a little bit better than the iPhone. When it comes to iCloud, the main thing I was using iCloud for was for my photos, and so the switch over to Google Photos was actually super easy. Before I switched over, I backed up all of my photos from my iPhone to a hard drive, which I do pretty much every couple months, so that wasn't really anything new to me. And I find that Google Photos is actually a lot more quick at uploading my stuff to the cloud, which that makes it easy for me to access my photos and my videos across my devices. And then when it comes to iMessage, I honestly just had to tell my friends that I couldn't be in our iMessage group chats anymore. But group chats still work with Google Messages. You just have to make a new group chat with your phone number, because if it's connected to iMessage, it went really weird and I couldn't use the group chats that I was already on with iMessage. But you do still have the ability to have group chats with people who have iPhones. When it comes to AirDrop, on the Pixel, they have what's called Quick Share, which I haven't really used that much, but that's an option as well. For editing, I just pull my photos from Google Photos, so that kind of eradicated my previous issue about not having AirDrop. The last thing that I wanted to mention was about phone cases. So I love buying phone cases. That's just, I don't know why, I find it so fun. It makes your phone feel new. I have found that there are not as many options for the Pixel 9 or for Samsung phones in general than there are for iPhones. Phone case companies really tailor all of their marketing and stuff towards people who own iPhones. And it's so disappointing because sometimes they even don't have the same offerings for people with Pixels. And I guess it does make sense because so many people have iPhones these days. It's still really disappointing. I just thought I would mention it in this video because I love buying phone cases myself, and that has been something that I have been finding. Overall, I have really been enjoying this phone. It has really opened my eyes to other market offerings outside of Apple, which has been good. But that's all that I have for this video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below, and I'm sure myself or somebody who has a Pixel will answer. But thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you have a fabulous day, and I will see you in the next video.